morning. I'm Phoebe Jones from the Global Women's Strike in Philadelphia, just down the pike, the turnpike from you all. And because I'm so close and we have a greater opportunity to meet, I'm just going to use my time for introductions and thanks. And I want to first thank Faye very much for inviting us to be here today with you. Rena, who I understand also helped bring this event together. Orlando and Nikisha, who made our accommodations possible. We have a delegation here of 30 people from across the country and from overseas. And we could not have afforded to do this without the support of your church, so we really thank you. Yes. But a special thanks to Diana, who has made all of this possible, who hooked us up with you all, with you wonderful people, and we really do see this as a beginning of a start of a beautiful friendship, and that we hope it carries on for a long time. Starting with the bad news is Letty Mozambite Linares got sick. And even though the church worked hard and helped us get her a visa, which was very successful, in fact, she got an extended visa, and she got sick on the eve of coming and couldn't make it. But the good news is that Nina Lopez is here, who is originally from Argentina, now lives in London and works very closely with Letty and knows her work and will say a bit about that. And then after Nina speaks, Selma James, who is the founder and coordinator of the Global Women's Strike and the author of the wonderful book in the back, Sex, Race, and Class. And if you don't have it, I highly recommend you get it. It is a primer, a how-to organize and full of experience and a wealth of information and wisdom and everything. So, and if you play your cards right, she might even sign it for you. I also should also say that I am a Quaker, and I work closely with my meetings, the Germantown meeting in Philadelphia's working group on mass incarceration. So I'm really glad to have this connection with the UN committee too, for that reason. And we're also really glad to be addressing the United Nations Committee because we worked many, many years at the United Nations, especially during the UN Decade for Women, when we have an NGO with consultative status, the International Women Count Network, which after years won the decision at the Beijing Women's Conference that governments should measure and value unwaged work and include it in their unwaged work on the home, on the land, in the community, and include it in their gross domestic product. And so without further ado, Nina Lopez.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be here today, although I'm very, very sorry that my good friend and colleague, Lady, was not able to make it. It's a great disappointment for us all, as she was quite a crucial part of our delegation. To say a few words about her, Lady Mozambite is in her 50s. She was a domestic worker for most of her life. She still does a bit of domestic work, although she's mainly now, and for quite a while, an organizer. The situation in Peru for domestic workers, as for most of the world, is very dire. Mostly indigenous women and rural women come to the countryside, often children. Often you get employers going to the countryside, making promises to children's parents about how they're going to give them an education and pull them out of poverty. And as a result of it, of course, parents wanting the best for their children, let the children go, and then the children find themselves in a situation of slavery. The education is not forthcoming, the children are often told that their parents are dead, so that their only safety, protection is gone, and they find themselves at the mercy of these employers who basically tell them, we are your family, and now you must work for us. Now, liberation theology in the 60s and 70s played a very big role in helping to create the domestic worker organizations that exist today. They helped, and it was really fantastic, nuns and priests who kind of found out in the community what was going on, where the children were, how old they were, and where they could be helped. And they helped those children and those young women escape those families. They helped them get an education, which was their right, and they helped them to form organizations. Some of them exist until today. So liberation theology, as I think everybody would know here, has really played quite a crucial role in many Latin American countries, as well as in the Caribbean, such as Haiti. I think we all know President Haiti was a priest. Now, Lady started to work as a trade union organizer. It was very difficult at first because there was a dictatorship in Peru, a Fujimori dictatorship which went on for 10 years. And many domestic workers organizers, very young women, some barely teenagers, others in their early 20s, disappeared under Fujimori and were murdered. So a lot of the organizing went on the ground. Some of it, people changed the names of their organizations so that there were no longer unions, which was dangerous. But there were women's, training centers, etc. And that's how people survived and the organizing survived. Lady has been a trade union organizer now. She founded a couple of trade unions, one local and one national. And together with a kind of international network of domestic workers, after many decades of struggle, they were able to win the ILO Convention for Domestic Workers number 189 in 2011. And it is the first time that the United Nations, the ILO, recognizes that domestic work is work and that domestic workers are workers with rights like other workers. And it's a fantastic victory, it really is. When Lady called me from Switzerland to tell me that it had been passed, I can't tell you the sound of her voice. She was so excited. It was really brilliant. Now, of course, much work remains to be done, because we all know that policies sound very good on paper, but then the question is, will it ever be implemented? A whole set of countries have ratified the convention, which of course was the first thing. South Africa was one of the first, and South Africa played a very key role, as did some of the Latin American countries and the Philippines, countries that are known for having large numbers of domestic workers, played a very key role in pushing the legislation forward, the convention forward. The US has not ratified, although there have been gains, I understand, here in New York. Some legislation was passed, which is kind of a first in the US, and it's spreading around the country. But the US itself has not ratified, neither has the UK. And guess what? We're not surprised. So much work remains to be done. Peru hasn't either, so Lady has her hands full. And after that, it's obviously a question of when it does get ratified, for it to get implemented so that domestic workers get the rights like other workers. And at the forum, there were young people who were campaigning for the $15 hourly wage here, minimum wage, and have had some good success in Seattle, we understand. So we're hoping that these two struggles, as well as the struggle for caring work generally to be recognized and counted and paid for, can all come together and we can all get the recognition we deserve. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for your warm reception. We do appreciate that very much. And thank you very much for the ceremony that began outside. I am not a religious person, but I believe in what was done outside. I believe in respect for the natural world. I believe in seeing ourselves as the product and as integral to that world. And I believe that the world will not change socially and economically and politically until we get back to that relationship as a primary part of what our being demands. I've been called a women's rights activist, and I can't fault it. I can't say that's not true. But at the same time, I feel it isn't quite the full truth. I've been part of an organization for almost well over 40 years, the Wages for Housework campaign, which for my sins I founded, which began with the caring work that women do. And we demanded money for that work, which would appear to mean that we wanted to monetarize the caring work and make it more productive, or in really part of a productive apparatus. No such thing is true. We demanded money for the caring work because, first of all, we thought that was the most important work of the society. Caring not only for children, for our families, for our neighbors, for our community, for our environment, caring for all those and all the things which make up the lives around us. And yet that caring work was so disrespected by the society that those who gave their life's blood to it were ignored, demeaned, punished, and in every way deprived of also our rights and our dignity. And if this is a society where money dominates, we want some of that. We want some of the power that that will bring. And we have a couple of other purposes too. We don't like the people who have the money, what they're doing with it, and we think we'll do better. We don't think the military budgets should be so big. In fact, we don't think there should be military budgets. Right. And it's that money that we want, first of all. But there is another and a deeper purpose. And that is that we used to live in societies which, though brutal sometimes and also lacking in many, many ways, have as the end and aim of production the caring, the people, the relationships, not only the survival, but the happiness of being alive. And now we live in a society where we are not the end and aim any longer, but the production dominates us and chews us up and demeans us and makes us the subject, the object of that production, rather than the subject and production being the object. And so when we say we want wages for housework, wages for caring work, a minimum wage, we want a maximum wage really, but we start with the minimum. When we say that, we say we want all of the priorities of the society to be absolutely transformed. We want caring to be the center of society. We want production and productive activity to be at the service of those of us who care. Now, I want to say about those of us who care. Women are civilized by our caring work. I believe that. I believe in the true meaning of civilized. We put others first, and we are punished for doing it. And we are not happy with that situation. And sometimes, as a result of the way we are treated because we care, we are encouraged not to care. And we are not happy with that situation, neither as mothers or aunties or teachers or nurses or childcare workers or all the other caring work that overwhelmingly it is women doing. So we also are not happy that men are not as civilized as we are, because they are not expected to care as we care. So what we are also saying is that we want caring work to be the priority of everyone in society, women as well as men. And that means that men must no longer be the servants of production, that they are not validated unless they are exploited. We're against that. We're against anyone's exploitation, but we're against that exploitation being elevated to a virtue. And that women are urged, often by those who call themselves feminists, to elevate the virtue of exploitation as women's priority as well. So what we're saying is that we want a caring society, not only that production will be at the service of life and caring, and therefore of love and relationships, but we want everyone to be a carer in the society. Now that's a big struggle. It's a big struggle even to admit, and we're finding this at the forum, the left forum, even to admit, to get people on the left to admit that the work that women do, which is the reproduction of the human race, is a priority. They haven't put it on their programs. They don't mention it as the change they want to see. And so we are building a movement. And our movement as women has the support of men like Alex, who spoke just before, and those men who acknowledge and see very clearly in their own relationships and in their own experience that what women are demanding for themselves is really good for men, really the best thing for men, and are with us as we build this movement. And one final word. This movement is international. We cannot tolerate racism of any sort, not only against people who are of different colors, but people who have disabilities, or who are elderly, like myself, although I'm very lucky to have good health, or little children who are treated abominably by the society, and are even, their mothers are even told that the milk that you buy at the shop is better than that produced by their own bodies with the love and nurturing that the women must be allowed to give their children, are deprived of what we call the milk of human kindness. So it is all of us, and we begin to fight that by fighting with others for our rights, but always bearing in mind that we want this right and that right and the other right. We want to stop rape, but we want to make the police accountable when women report rape, We want pay equity. There are many things that we want, but we always acknowledge that it is an international movement of people, that women, because of our position in society, because of our position also in biology, are leading. And I'm very grateful that you've given me this chance to say this today. Thank you.